I haven't uploaded in weeks and my channel has been pretty dormant. And a major part of it is I'm struggling with uploading trans content. I think as a content creator who does, trans stuff, who talks about being trans, who has shared their entire transitioning journey. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, sharing everything that I have been dealing with, all of the pain, the hardship, the mistakes that I have made. I shared everything and I'm finding myself at this weird point where I'm struggling to come up with something new without repeating the same points over and over again. Because as somebody who does trans content, the main videos that you will find are those for people who are figuring themselves out, who want to learn more about trans people, especially the early stages of transitioning, and those who do meme reviews, right? I have made videos about the process of getting my legal name changed. When I was doing, I have shared the mistakes that my endocrinologist has made when it comes to prescribing me the wrong dosage, where I essentially went through menopause for such a long time. I've talked about gender stereotypes and how our gender identity is not determined by the clothes that we are wearing. I've talked about what it's like to grow up as somebody who knew that they were trans early on but didn't have the proper research, the proper resources and supportive environment to actually start transitioning. I talked about what it's like to have to repress your trans identity, who has to hide and, starts to disassociate, gets depressed. I've talked about these things. And I've talked about how important it was for me to start transitioning, to go on this journey, and how I'm finally at a point where the friendships that I make feel real. The memories that I make feel like mine. And I'm more comfortable in my body. It didn't eliminate a lot of the dysphoria. I still struggle with my voice. I still have imposter syndrome. I still feel regret because I didn't transition sooner. And I've talked about this. I shared everything. And what is left for me is to just debunk transphobic talking points. 2025 was for me a year where my advocacy, what I shared, put me in the spotlight of, people like Tectone, RevSysDesu, Asmongold, and so on. And there was a lot of hate coming my way that I tried to debunk, that I used as an opportunity to educate on why we care about trans kids, how trans kids exist, and a trans girl does deserve to live a life as a girl with other girls and have some form of normalcy. Dealing with gender dysphoria is already enough. It is incredibly difficult, but it's getting so much more worse when you're forced to hide who you are, or the healthcare that can help you is being taken away, and people ostracize you, other you, the microaggressions, the transphobic language that has been so normalized that even allies are using it. This is kind of what is happening every single day. That is something that I can talk about, but it's negativity. It is always just negativity, and it comes down to the same transphobic rhetoric over and over again. When the Supreme Court rules that trans people do not have a right to live as their gender, and all of the cruelty that comes from this, all of the hatred that we need to endure, all of these ultra conservative who are boosting this transphobic rhetoric because they want to keep up this capitalistic reproductive apparatus where the way that you were born dictates your role, your place in society, and how your life is going to look like, what your interests are, what your profession should be, how you should be a mother or, father. All of these things should be determined at birth when a doctor observes your sex. That is what they want to uphold. That is what all of the cruelty always rests on. I can talk about this, but there isn't a lot of positivity because that is just the political side right now. And it feels like I have to repeat the same things over and over again when I see more bad news, when I see more cruelty. All of like these fascists who are using trans people as like a scapegoat. Like nobody cares about climate change and so on anymore because they can cheer on the abuse of like an incredibly small marginalized community. And I'm tired. I'm exhausted. How can I talk about the positivity? How can I talk about like how me transitioning and so on helped me when I see in the world how life-saving medical treatment is being ripped away from people who desperately need it? Conservatives know that HRT improves the well-being of trans people. That is why they fight so hard to take it away. This entire like bioessentialism that they are pushing and so on, it's just a ideology. It's not based in science. It's not based in reality. It's just religious and like, you know, based in like capitalism. And I'm tired of just creating content that is me being attacked for being trans. I'm tired of me having to talk about all of like the horrible laws that are being put in place, all of like the horrible rulings in like various different countries right now, because apparently the #1 priority of the entire world is to ruin the lives of innocent trans adults and children who just want to live, who just want to have like some form of normalcy, who want to be included in society. The government removing our bodily autonomy and like determining who we are. It's exhausting to see all of like the horrible shit in the world. It is so incredibly difficult for me to upload videos that help trans people to just keep going. You know, if your healthcare is being taken away, how your rights are being stripped away, how you're being portrayed as evil, as like a predator and so on, how you are not allowed to go into spaces that align with your gender identity because like these billionaires are funding this culture war. Like how can I help them not lose hope when all there is negativity? And I think a huge part of why I can keep going is because I have a community. When I get DMs of people telling me how my videos have helped them, I cannot change the horrible things that are going on in the world, but I can just be here and talk about this. I can talk about how these things affect me so other people feel seen. But it's so hard. And I wish there were better news. I wish I could talk about like the positive things a little bit more, highlighting like the good things, because I can tell you how me going on HRT has benefited me. But when I see how trans people, how this care is being taken away from them, it's painful. I was thinking about like how I want to do my content from now on, what road I want to go in, but I feel like I'm always going to be a streamer first, right? I like just sitting here and sharing how I feel, and I want to keep doing that. Maybe not as frequently right now, maybe only when there's like something that I really feel like I have enough to actually talk about it. Maybe I want to try to find different angles to certain things. Maybe I want to like branch out. I'm not entirely sure. But right now, I play games, mainly Valorant. And I want to upload that on my second channel, on my daily dose of Nyara account. So I have like a little bit of like separation so I can upload like footage and so on. Right now, I only have like shorts, but I want to turn the shorts that I have into long form videos as well. And there's a lot of content. I've been doing this for, you know, some time now. I actually wanted to, you know, make a proper video like talking about these things, but I feel like it's really difficult for me to sit down, write a script and, you know, record that. I want to build this account a little bit more because that represents my stream content a little bit more, because I just didn't have the energy to talk about like every little horrible thing that is going on that is just part of like this mountain of gigantic cruelty that we have to deal with. But I also want to find more positive aspects, because I think in times like this, it's important to just keep going, because this will pass. It's eventually going to be over. It's going to take a while to undo all of like the horrible things that this administration has done to trans people in the US, you know, when it comes to like trans people in the UK, it's going to take a while, but we will survive this. People in society, generally people in society are not going to be as hostile towards trans people as portrayed in the media and so on, when it comes to like social media and whatnot. But it's really difficult to make content once you set everything there is about your journey, and all that's left is just talking about the news or being attacked by some slop tubers who use you as an opportunity to make more money.